right, in this edition of Fit Rockstar Show, we have with us the world's strongest firefighter, Daniel Camacho, in the house. Here we go.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming so far away.
Of course. Took me like 40 minutes to get here.
40 minutes. Takes usually people hours to get here.
Yeah, I know.
So you're from Phoenix, obviously.
Yes.
And you're a firefighter.
I am a firefighter.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
How many years have you been firefighting?
I've been on the Phoenix Fire Department for 6 years now.
6 years?
Mm-hmm.
What made you want to become a firefighter?
So I joined a gym a long time ago, back in like 2011. The owner was a firefighter. And when I got to be around these kind of guys and talk to them about what they do, and it just got my interest in it. I wasn't the guy that grew up thinking, I'm going to grow up to be a fireman one day, But yeah, the more I learned about the job, and it got my interest, and here I am now, 6 years later.
Oh, wow. Cool. Now, you've been doing strongman competitions, or you've been training for how long?
Well, training for, I don't know, probably, a large part of my life, but in strongman for 11 years.
Now, how'd you get into strongman?
Same gym. It was a strongman gym. The owner actually was a pro strongman, and so that's how I got into this kind of sport. That was my intro to it, and when I joined the gym, I was like, I'll never compete. Like that's just not something that I can do. By the end of that year, I was doing my first competition. And I've been going at it ever since.
So you've played sports, you've done things in your younger years, obviously, to get you to.
Yeah.
I mean, what did you used to do?
When I was in school, I used to play volleyball.
Volleyball?
I know, yeah. It was mostly to get me out of some classes, but yeah.
Okay.
I did play basketball. And then later on, around my mid-20s, I started working out with a friend of mine, a neighbor of mine that was a bodybuilder. And so that's kind of where my start in lifting was, and then led me to that gym.
Tell me about your first call as a firefighter. What was that?
It's funny. It was childbirth. And,
a childbirth?
Yeah. And when I heard the tones and it's what it said, I'm like, really? Like, do we do this? And I mean, obviously we do, but it's, it's, it was like learned real quick because here we go.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you guys had to deliver a baby?
Yeah, we did.
Where was it at? Like at the house?
It was at their house, yeah.
Okay.
This lady, I don't know. It's just the baby came early, and when we got there, yeah, it was all hands on, and like really, I mean, that's like, to be the first call, it's kind of like eye opener, like this is what we're gonna do for work.
Oh, your fire department or actually Phoenix, you have a lot of busy calls, right?
Yeah, Phoenix Fire Department is very busy. We have a lot of stations, and most of them are super busy.
What does it mean to be a firefighter?
It's nice to be able to help the community and to be able to help somebody at their worst day of their life. We have the opportunity to do a lot of cool things. It doesn't happen all the time. It's not like we're like saving people all the time or fighting fire every day.
Are you saving cats out of trees?
I have saved cats, not out of trees though, and which is funny because I love cats. Like I'm a cat guy. Maybe people don't like that, but so be it. One time we rescued one from the dashboard of a car. It was a kitten, and it had crawled up in the dash, so we got him out of there. And then another time, one of them crawled behind the wall, and it was stuck between the wall and the cabinet. So they called us to help out with that. And I was like, yeah, I'm more than happy to help with this.
I love animals. So
oh yeah.
Now I'm sure on fires or whatever, have you had to get oxygen to the animals as well?
I have not yet. No,
okay.
not yet.
I've seen like videos of that, and it's just so heartbreaking.
Yeah, all the trucks have that equipment in case it's needed. But no, luckily I have not had to do that.
Can you tell us one of the most dangerous calls you've been on?
Definitely fires. Yeah,
it's not easy.
No, maybe it takes a little, special kind of crazy to walk into a burning building.
Special kind of crazy?
Well, I mean, I don't know how to explain it, but we love it. I mean, that's why we signed up. That's why we want to be firefighters, Yes, we go on a lot of medical calls and stuff like that, and it's okay, and we're happy to do so. But fire is what we like,
How many calls do you have where it's the repeat calls? They just want to have the attention.
Like the same customer calling us all the time?
What's the biggest thing you guys have? Not heart attacks, cardiac arrest. What is the?
It's really hard to say because that's part of why I like this job is because you go on shift and you don't know what kind of day you're gonna have. You don't know what your first call is going to be. It's not like you have it like, all right, this is my schedule. I'm gonna do this at this hour and this hour. Like no, you go and the day will tell. Like you might have a day where it's nothing but fires. You might have a day where it's like nothing but EMS calls, or you just never know.
Well, again, thank you for your service and what you do. I mean, you guys are wonderful. Now, going back into the world's strongest firefighter. So you were at the one in Santa Monica?
I was.
Was that the first one that they had?
In 2019, yes.
How was that? I wanted to go to that. It looked amazing.
Yeah. So a couple of my training partners, Jerry Pritchett, Brian Clark, were competing there. So I was already going. And when I got there, I realized that they were doing the strongest firefighter competition, which it actually started thanks to Arnold, because when he was governor, he got to see some of these guys fighting wildland fires. I don't know if you remember back in those, those crazy fires California had.
Wow.
Yeah, so he came up with the idea of like, all right, well, these guys are pretty strong. Like, let's find out who the strongest is, And but it was like super short notice. So it was mostly California firefighters that competed on that first one. But when I got there, I'm like, well, wait a minute, like, I'm a firefighter and I'm a strongman, like, But they were like, hey, listen, it's for these guys. I'm like, all right. So I got to see it from the first year from the sidelines. 2020 then they put it out bigger, and now they expanded to like anybody that wanted to to apply for it. Like you had to make videos and like submit some videos.
Videos.
Yeah, I think that if I remember correctly, like you had to like because you had to have a certain amount of strength to be able to qualify for this. And so I did all these things, and it's not it's out of my comfort zone too, because you also had to like talk and like show yourself, like this is Daniel Camacho, blah blah blah. Yeah, and it's like, but I did it, and I wasn't selected, and I wasn't selected, and like a few days after the list came out, I got an email from Arnold Sports, and they were telling me like, hey, basically they explained why I wasn't picked, and I was like, all right, thank you for your, thanks for considering me, like, I'm still going to be going out there because, again, my training partners were competing. So, I'm going to be on the sidelines and I'll cheer on these guys from the sidelines. And the guy took interest in me, and he was like, hey, like, if you're coming out here, like, I would like to talk to you more about being a strongman, being a firefighter, look me up. So a few emails back and forth, and I'm like, hey, who am I talking to? Because, all they said is Arnold Sports. And he tells me that his name is Noah, and he's Arnold's personal assistant.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, exactly, like, oh, wow, exactly what I said. And so we became friends, and something came up on that Arnold's 2020 where there was a firefighter that was diagnosed with ALS. And they asked me if I would do a charity thing, like basically go deadlift, as many reps as possible, and they will donate money for every rep that I did. And he goes like, would you do this? And I'm like, absolutely, man. Like, like I'm already going, like, it's a train, absolutely, I would love to. And he was like, and I'm going to have Arnold count reps for you.
What?
And exactly.
Wow.
Like, I'm like,
that is
this
cool.
real? Exactly. Yeah. I'm like, is this like, what? Are you kidding me? And he was like, no, I'll do this. And I'm like, absolutely, I'll go. I'll 100% be there.
That's so cool.
And it was a really awesome experience.
Were you
but again,
nervous?
well, yes, but it was a really cool experience. But I still didn't get to compete on the world's strongest firefighter though. This is year 2 now where I yes, I'm there, but I don't get to compete. Was I nervous? So here's what happened. Like they brought him out. His name is Eric Stevens. If you guys look him up on Instagram, like he probably still needs a lot of support from us to trying to change the way healthcare sees ALS, because these guys need a lot of help with this kind of stuff. So they brought him out on stage, and they were talking about his story, and he's a young guy. He started noticing like different things where like his grip wasn't as strong, and slowly kind of seeing some changes as he went to the doctor. Then they diagnosed him. He had just gotten married, had been on the fire department, I think, a couple of years, so like young guy. So it was like, man, like, why is this happening? Right. I think he played football for professional football for a little while. So, sad story, right? So anyway, so they bring him out on stage, and they're telling his story, and I'm backstage warming up and like trying to get ready, and I'm supposed to deadlift 500 pounds for as many reps as possible, and they're giving, all I'm hearing is this sad story. I'm like, man, like I gotta get like fired up for this,
right.
I'm all teary-eyed here listening to the story.
Yes.
So yeah, I was nervous, and but honestly, like when I got on stage and I started deadlifting, the crowd was. The energy that was there that day was unreal. So I ended up doing it for 10 reps.
Oh, awesome. 500 pounds.
Yep. So the fire union donated $10,000. Then Arnold came out and doubled it, so that was 20. And then Sofia Vergara and her husband, I forget his name, they donated another
Wow.
10. So they raised $30,000 towards Eric Stevens, which
God
was
bless him. That was very nice.
yeah. But again, so I didn't get to compete on the World's Strongest
Got to
Firefighter,
be next to Arnold.
but I got to do this. It was pretty cool.
and that was a very nice thing that you did for the cause.
I mean, yes, it is. But for me, it was just like, like I do this, like I don't want to say all the time, but like we do this week on, week off, for nothing. So like if I get to do it to help somebody else out, like absolutely, I'm more than happy to.
So you have a very kind heart as well.
Maybe.
I've heard about some of you firefighters, though.
Have you?
Yeah, you guys
Good
are
things or
wild.
bad things?
Both.
Yeah, that's probably right.
So how did you? So then the next year, then you got the call coming
So
on.
2021, nothing happened because of COVID. There was no Arnold's, so this wasn't an option. And then 2022, it came about, and I wasn't planning on competing. I actually had a really hard time or a hard year last year, and I would tell myself that I'm done competing. I'm not going to compete anymore. And just a lot of life changes and different personal stuff going on in my life. And one day I was actually sitting at the station, kind of like feeling depressed and sad. And I actually messaged Noah, and I was like, "Hey, are you running this competition?" He was like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Hey, is there any chance that you can get me in? Like, can I come compete?" And he's like, "Look, the selection process already happened. This has already been done. But if you're serious, like if you want to, like I'll see what I can do." And then he goes like, "Will you be there if I get you in?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And so like 15 minutes later, he was like, "You're in, so you're there."
Wow.
Yeah, I know. But now it's like, I think that was like 3 weeks before the competition. And I'm like, okay.
3 weeks before.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not saying that I, like, oh, look at me, I won. I only trained for 3 weeks. No, because I mean, obviously I've been training for, years. Like, this is what I do.
Sure.
So it will just be changing into, this is what we're doing.
Well, listen, your job is not easy. I mean, what you had to do, you had 4 exercises, four challenges to do, right?
Yes.
What were they?
It was log clean and press away at 250 pounds. Sandbag carry for max distance.
Which was one of the hardest.
Yes, 250
Those
pounds.
guys were killing doing that thing.
I know. And then it was deadlift max reps at 525. And then arm over arm sled pull at, I think they told us 550.
Was that the easiest?
Yeah, it definitely was. It didn't feel that heavy.
So you only had 3 weeks to prepare for this. And what people don't understand, you're a firefighter.
Yes.
Which means that while you're still trying to train for this competition, you still are doing your job, which is 24 hours on.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that because, yes, most athletes or most people that are in this kind of world, they always talk about sleep is the biggest thing, right? Like that's when we recover, and for men, that's when you produce testosterone and all those things. Well, firefighters, we don't have the luxury of sleeping through the nights. Most of the times when we're on shift, like we might sleep, 4-5 hours, but it's also broken hours. It's not like I slept, 4 straight hours. Like no, you went to bed, you went on a call, came back, fell asleep for another hour, another call. You know what I mean? So we are not very well rested.
People always ask how I got here. I was willing to work just a little harder than everyone else. Every damn day. If I can have hundreds of hours back, I'm gonna grab them. Spending hours prepping chicken, rice, and vegetables, F that. I rely on perfect nutrition. I rely on trifecta.
So it changes things, when I come off shift and the next day, I mean, obviously I'm going to go train, because it's what I do, but my energy level is not always there, and then, so sometimes you'll have like a crazy good workout, even though you had, no sleep, but then there's days where you walk in the gym and there's just like nothing is working,
Right.
So yes, like it is different to be a firefighter and then try to be an athlete at the same time.
Yeah, so some people were in the impression that, these guys are not really firefighters. They're just going, they're already, the power lifters. It's not the case.
No, not at all. No.
Yeah,
No.
because you're also skipping meals. Because you have to go on a call, you got to go.
Oh my God, it's happened
If you're
many times.
Training
Yes.
during that time, now you got to go.
It doesn't matter what you're doing when the tones go off. We got to go.
So what's the amount of time that you guys have the best time
to
for going on a call?
Again, you don't know, like, because you don't know when somebody's going to need you, you know?
Well, I mean, like getting ready and like, out the door.
Oh, we have to be on scene within 4 minutes. Yeah. So, we have every station has their own area, so, so we have, 4 or 5 minutes to be on scene.
Do you drive the fire truck?
I have driven a fire truck.
Oh, my God.
I'm not
How hard is that?
It's not that hard,
It's huge.
It is, but I don't know. You get used to it.
Have you run over stop signs and? Oh my
I mean,
God.
we try not to. But no, so we have engineers, which is the guy that is trained to drive the truck. But if for some reason, like they have time off or whatever, one of us has to always step up. It's not like we're gonna take the truck out of service because one of us is not there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's times where I've driven a fire truck.
I love it. That's awesome. But
It's
going back to your competition, so you got in.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have 3 weeks. What did you do within those 3 weeks to prepare?
Well, I do have a coach. My coach, I've had him for 4 years now. His name's Terry Rady. He's an awesome guy, and he understands what I do for work too. So he understands that I don't have the luxury of just being crazy strong. I also have to have endurance, because I can't be super strong but not be good at my job. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I immediately told him, like, hey man, we gotta change gears. And he's like, what? And I'm like, I'm back at competing. He's like, I was waiting for that. Because I told him that I wasn't gonna compete anymore. So his answer was like, yeah, I was waiting for this. So I told him the events, and we immediately changed, everything that we were doing to change it to the competition. Deadlifts obviously now became more of a, conditioning, so we ended up doing 1 week, we did 3 M reps, so as many reps as possible, and I don't know,
As many reps as possible?
Yeah.
At what weight?
We did 465.
How many, what's the most you got?
On the first set, I got 12, and then I think 12, 10, 8.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then the next week, we did lighter weight, 405, but bended, so,
Lighter weight, yeah, 405, sure.
You
do that on your pinky, right?
I wish. No. But you know what I mean. Like heavy weight is different
I
for
get
all
it,
of us.
yeah.
That might be the max set for somebody. But trust me, I know a lot of guys that 405 is absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I can do 405, and I'm a girl.
Well, there you go.
I'm kidding. I could just do 315 for maybe 10 reps.
Then you can definitely do 405 for a single.
For half. Anyway, so you have your coach, and you guys got a plan to get ready for the World's Strongest Man. So moving forward, you got there, and what's going through your mind? You're finally there.
I know, which I'm pretty excited. I'm like, oh, yeah, like you said, like finally, all right, like finally I get a shot at this. And I typically when you're going in a competition, you kind of start second guessing yourself, or like start putting pressure on yourself, like I have to do well on this or that, which is stress that nobody wants. Like nobody, as a competitor, you shouldn't have extra stress. But because it was such a short notice, I didn't have that on me. Like I just literally showed up, and I didn't go on Instagram and start looking up who else is competing to
Do you guys do that?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Really?
Well, I do, but I didn't do it this time. And but when I got there though, and when I finally saw the rest of the guys, they were massive.
So what was going through your mind?
Oh,
Like,
I was
my
like,
God.
okay, this is not gonna be an easy thing, like these guys are. I mean, honestly, like they're way bigger and stronger than me. Many of them.
I saw the guy coming all the way from Dublin,
Yeah,
and he had a big. I was actually behind his group,
yeah.
and
Oh
so
yeah,
they were going crazy.
Yeah.
And listen, I respect what he does, coming all that way.
Yeah.
But he didn't do that well. Game in ninth, I think.
He is a rugby player. And I think he's gotten into powerlifting a little bit, so he's fairly newer to this kind of events.
He was
so
a big dude.
strong too. Yeah,
Well, some of the things that he had a little bit difficult time, I think the log press was one, because I was watching it and I was just admiring his big guy. You're
Yeah.
thinking, but no, you came and you. Now the interesting thing with you was it was all about your consistency. So explain how the process is with the points and stuff.
So basically, I think there were 16 of us. So if you win, if you get first place on one event, you get 16 points.
Okay.
And then so on. They get broken up, on whatever place you got. I didn't win one event outright. Like I didn't win any of them. I just
But you
stayed.
placed high.
Yeah, I just stayed towards the top
Yeah.
on all of them. And when I saw these guys, when I saw that they were big, and I mean obviously they were strong. then I told myself, like, okay, you are strong, but you also have conditioning. So they're bigger. They gotta get tired sooner or later. So that's where my training, the way I trained, I was relying on that. That was gonna give me the win.
How did you know that these guys weren't conditioned?
Well, no, I'm not saying they're not conditioned, but they're just bigger. So you have
the bigger
to.
the guy,
Yeah.
less.
I mean, you have a lot more mass that you have to take breathe enough to feel feel those muscles. So I was just like, they gotta. I mean, I was hoping, I wasn't
No,
sure
I'm
that was
learning
gonna
the
happen.
tactics here. That way I can keep note. When
Yeah. So the first event was log, and like I was telling you, like my training partner was like, "Hey, don't look at the lights." And obviously, the first thing I do was look at the lights.
So tell us about your training partner real quick, because
It's a little guy. His name is Jerry Pritchett. I
Little
don't know.
guy.
I don't know if you guys have heard of him. He's one of the world's strongest men out there.
he
one
won in 2017.
I think so. He's one of few men that have deadlifted over 1,000 pounds.
He looks freak. I've seen some of his stuff. He looks crazy. Like he is ready to fight. When you look at him and watch him train, he's very focused.
It's really funny watching him because he's like the nicest guy ever. But when he gets in front of the bar, he has this switch. You can see it actually flip to where he gets all serious and it's just like, all right, time to go to work. But he's got just turns it on and it's like go time.
I love it. And how long have you been partners for?
I've been training with him for, I don't know, 5-6 years, maybe more. Yeah.
So he tells you not to look at the lights. And you look at the lights.
Yeah. He was like, hey, when you're on the main stage, it's different. Like make sure that when you're pressing, don't look at the lights. And I'm like, okay, like I got it. And first thing I do is look at the light, and it just completely throws me off, And I'm struggling actually on the log. We didn't get a lot of warm up too, because these shows run pretty quick, and they do the intro and all those things. So even if you were warming up, by this point your body's not cold. So they changed it too. The way I was training it was supposed to be clean and press each rep, which again, going back to the strategy, I was like, okay, this is cardio, so this is gonna help me against the bigger guys. But then they changed it to clean once and press away, which it's not a big difference, but it is. Like for me, it threw me off. So I remember I cleaned it, I pressed it once, and then I missed the second one. I pressed it again. I'm looking at the lights, so like I'm all over the place, and in my head I'm like, hey, just drop it and go do what you do, which is clean and press. Which is I went back to that. And then it's things felt better. I think I got 6 reps on the log. I ended up 3rd place overall at that on the first event.
And then the second one was the sandbag.
Sandbag, which is the one that I was.
Now, when I saw this, I'm in the audience. I'm thinking, oh God, that's easy. But it wasn't.
No. As soon as I saw the events, I was like, oh, this is the one that I don't want. Sandbag. Yes, it wasn't that heavy. It was 250 pounds. Right. But the trick is it was max distance. So it was not timed. It was just go until you can't. And then we have deadlift afterwards. So sandbag is all posterior chain. It's all your back, glutes, hamstrings.
Why were the guys squatting? Like you would see them doing it and then they just squat down.
I think what you're talking about is like when they have been going for a little bit. So basically they were just trying to like get some air and then try to go again. But it's really tricky. Like once your muscles are taxed and you're trying to go, like it almost doesn't do anything really. You can squeeze a little bit more, but like once your body is just like, hey, like this is hard, like you don't have that much more.
We're done.
Yeah. So when I was backstage, you hear the crowd going crazy with everybody going, So you're like, man, like is everybody just like killing it on this event? Like what's going on? And there was a laptop backstage, so you can kind of see what's going on, but it wasn't updated fast enough for you to like kind of like, okay, I need to do this match and I'll be good. So when I got up there, I was like, all right, I just gotta go until I can't do anymore. Keeping in mind the deadlift was coming up next too, because I was like, all right, you have to go, but you have to also save yourself because.
How did you do that? What was this? I mean, how did you figure out? Okay, I gotta keep it.
Honestly, like it's just basically like focus on what you're doing. We had 2 people going at once, right? The guy that was going next to me, he picked it up and started going with it real fast. So as a competitor, you're like, oh my God, like I gotta go. But I was just like, look, it's max distance. It doesn't matter how fast he's going. Just focus on you, pick it up and go. And I I went pretty smooth for the most part, until I got to like, I don't know, eight or nine lap. Then it's when my back started, just throbbing. And I'm like, okay. So I think I pushed it through nine, and I actually like went down to my legs, kind of like what you're saying, took a couple breaths and then tried to go again. And so I ended up with like 10 and a half, but they were not measuring. So they only gave me 10. Finishing that event, I think I finished, I was tied for first place after that. After this,
How
that
did they
event.
do the tiebreaker?
But basically, whatever points, whatever the
okay.
points they were, I don't know, how exactly they were, or because I don't know what everybody else got on placing wise, but like basically, the other guy and I were tied for first, going on to the deadlift.
So then you went into the deadlift,
Yes.
and then how did you do with that?
So maybe it was just me, but when I got there, like when I saw these guys, like nobody was paying attention to me, or like like everybody was sizing out the big guys and like
Right.
thinking like like those guys are gonna be the ones to beat, and and I'm like perfect, like this is a good place to be. When I was going on to deadlift, like one of the guys goes like, the guy that I was tied with, he goes like, how in the world did you get here? Like like he was surprised that I was tied for
He
first.
said that to you.
Yeah, I mean, but it's not a bad
Right,
thing,
yeah, yeah.
It was almost like a compliment. He's like, dude, like how did, and I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm here, let's go. And so we got on there, and he's a big guy and strong, like stronger than me for sure. But he's probably, I don't know, 320. Like he took a picture next to Martins, and Martins looks small next to him. Like,
Oh, yeah.
like he's a big.
Now, how
dude.
much do you weigh?
Going on to that competition, I was weighing 234.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Small
of,
guy.
Yeah.
But so we're strapping up, and again back to strategy. I'm like, all right, he's gotta get tired at some point. Like he's got to, and we're going. And if you watch the video, like we're both going at the same time pretty much, and I'm watching him on the side, and we're going to like rep 5, and I'm like, he's not slowing down, like okay, but he finally on like 6, somewhere around there, he slows down, and I kept going. So I'm like, okay. So in my head, I'm like, okay, I think I'm like 2 reps ahead of him. Like we're in a good place. I get to 9, and it starts to get real heavy. My again from the sandbag, my back is pretty tight. Pull the 9th rep, pull 10, and again in my head, I'm like, I'm pretty sure I have him for a few, so like I should be good. So I take off. I step away from the bar. He's still working. So, the little voice in the back of my head is like, you said you were going to push it. You said you were going to give it your all, So, like, just do one more. And I step up to the bar, and the announcer saw me do that. And he was like, he's going for another one. And now the crowd's going crazy.
Of course.
He says it's like 10 seconds left. So I don't strap up. I just pick it up, pick it
wow.
up, and get the 11th rep right before the 10 seconds.
Wow.
So I counted. Come to find out later on, I got 11, he got 10. So I'm so glad that I did it, because otherwise we would have been going up to the final event still tied on first place. So now I beat him, so I'm 2 points ahead on first place. And I'm like, all right, cool. This is where I want it to be. Like this is a good place to be. Again, we're backstage, and the guys are going on the final event, the armor arm sled pull, and the crowd's going crazy on everybody. So you're like what's going on? Like,
It was
is
a
everybody?
big crowd.
Yeah, is everybody just super good? Like So I'm pretty comfortable on where I'm at, but I know that I can't let off at the gas. Like I have to do good and finish strong. Jerry comes over and he's like, hey, it's sliding real easy. You make sure that you're going like good fast pulls, and that you're quick on grabbing the rope so that it doesn't ball up on your lap, and then you're trying to get out of the way, And at this point, like I'm just super fired up, like I'm just like, all right, like this is what we came for, like let's go. And I get out there, and I think I finished second place overall on that event. I didn't know it at that point. So after I finish, like I feel good, I feel comfortable, but I have no idea how he did. No, I have no idea how he did, or if I actually won, And obviously they took away the laptop in the back, so we can't see the results.
Right.
They bring all of us on the main stage again, and they start calling out names from the 6th place and so on. So when they get to the number 2, I'm like, please say his name, please say his name. and they finally did, and so yeah, now I know I won, and I mean,
What was running through your mind at that moment?
honestly, it was almost like kind of like finally, like
Well, do you think that if you would have been in the World's Strongest Man or World's Strongest Firefighter, those years you tried, think you would have won those?
oh, I think so. Yes,
I love it.
yes, I would have won it. The competition has grown a lot from because again I got to see it from the start, and it's grown a lot.
Was
and
it
it's
like
gotten,
6 competitors it started out with or something like that?
I think it was like 12.
12,
I think it's somewhere around 10, 12 each one of them. But they are getting bigger, better athletes every time. Like it's just growing and growing and growing, and it seems to be just getting better and better, which is pretty cool. It's pretty cool that Arnold gave us again the platform to compete against other firefighters. They go through the same hard times when it comes to training or eating and sleeping and all that stuff. So
You diet down, train hard, and supplement smart for months. When the time comes to step on stage, don't leave your tan to chance. Go with the pros. Pro Tan. #1 worldwide since 1987 and the official sponsor of the Olympia for the last 15 years. Don't step on stage without it. Pro Tan.
yeah, Arnold and Arnold Sports have been pretty awesome on giving us that chance.
Well, let's remind people too that these events or these challenges that you guys, is challenge the right word to use?
Events, challenges, sure.
Events, challenges. These are also real life situations for firefighters, correct?
Sure.
Like the sandbag, and I would think that's when you're carrying somebody, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's the other interesting thing that I love about it, is that these events are actually related to, I don't know how you feel about it, real life situations.
Well, so like a lot of people ask me, like, why do you like Strongman? And it's that reason. It's because it translates very well into firefighting. It allows me to do my job better when it comes to firefighting.
Well, tell us about your job, like what you have to do. A lot of people think you're just putting out fires. It's not all about that, though, right?
No, it's not. I mean, it's just. But even putting out fires, like every fire is different. Like
Yes.
it's not like you can have it pre-planned to like this is what we're gonna do. We're just gonna put water and it's over. No, every fire has its challenge. Like might have to force entry through a door, which obviously being stronger helps me breach the door easier.
Pulling down the ceiling.
Pulling ceiling, yes. Pulling hose lines. The hoses are not light, and especially when it's charged and being pumped with water, like it's not light. And it's hard to manage it and be able to move with it. So being stronger, like it allows me to do that job easier and struggle less than somebody that might not be as strong.
Mm-hmm. So is it true that if you hold a fire hose, you can actually?
You can.
It can take you around.
Oh,
because it's just-
100%. Yes. Yes, it can. Like I actually had a fire years ago in a big warehouse, and I remember when we finally hooked up the line and they charged it, it actually moved me like 2 or 3 feet, because there was like the shiny floors on like on a Walmart kind of place, and when I finally open it and I'm like sliding back, and I'm like, oh my God, like am I gonna lose this? Because if I lose the line and it's charged, like it's gonna go everywhere, like you see it on the movies, kind of thing, And so yeah, like it's different.
So I wanted to ask you, I just want to know, have you pulled a fire truck
Yes.
with the water inside?
No, it did not have water or
'Cause
tools.
that's harder, isn't it,
yes.
with the-
Oh yeah. Well, like we carry 500 gallons of water on the engines. So
Ooh.
yeah.
I think
But,
that should be a good challenge for people to do.
Well, there's been some strongman guys that have done it. But yeah, I've pulled a fire truck.
Do you think that Arnold should have a fire truck for part of the World's Strongest Firefighter? Or is that too much?
No, I mean I would love it.
What other events, challenges would you like to see for the? For
Well,
what you
me
guys do?
personally, I'm really good at dumbbell press, so
Dumbbell
I
press?
would love dumbbell.
How does that? Just a regular dumbbell press?
No, we're talking about the monster dumbbell. Have you seen like World's Strongest Man guys
Yes,
like this?
yeah.
It's these dumbbells
The
can be
one-
loaded up
yeah.
to I don't know anywhere from 100 to 200 plus pounds. So that's a
Put
good
some
event.
ideas out here.
I mean, if they're listening to me, I would love it if there's the dumbbell next year.
I would love to see a fire truck, a big fire
I
truck,
mean,
or a ladder truck.
that's bigger. That's bigger.
Yeah, let's go big ladder truck.
All right, you make some calls. I'll start training.
So next year we're going to see you, right?
Yes, they've already asked me. They want me to come back next year and defend the
I would
title.
hope so, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I will definitely be. I'll definitely be
Two-time
there.
champ.
That sounds pretty good. So yes.
Listen, your story is incredible because you were just about to retire. And you decided, I'm going to give it one last shot. You got in. You ended up winning the whole thing.
Yeah.
And what's cool about it is you just went with the flow.
One of the persons that was there, she said, like, when you got here, like, you see that you were focused. Like, obviously they took really good care of us. Like, they gave us the pro treatment. They took us to events and dinners and gave us access to the entire Arnold's event. And I did a lot of those things, but I was there for something. Like, I really wanted that title. I really wanted that.
So it didn't matter about all these other things. It was just more about the title.
Yeah. That's what I went for. And
then the Brotherhood, of course, you could see all these firefighters from around the world, which I think is phenomenal.
Well, you mentioned like they we're crazy, and like
crazy.
We're crazy around the world. Like we're all the same. Like we're just
fun, crazy.
Yeah, like I mean, it was definitely fun to meet a bunch of different guys and from different departments and like talk to them about like the stuff that they go through, and it's basically the same that we go through. So
explain that. What do you mean the stuff that you go like different calls or just
calls and the training and like this lack of sleep and all those things. Like it's not just Phoenix. They were like, oh, we run a lot of calls. Like no, it's like that everywhere. Which is
what's the most calls you ever had one day?
I think we've run somewhere around between 15 and 20, which is it's quite a bit.
Yeah, that's very taxing.
The biggest if it's calls during the day, like it's okay, no problem, but it's the night ones. It's the night ones, the ones that hurt, when especially we start counting after midnight, like typically it's when we start counting, like how many calls have we had after midnight, and lately it's been 3, 4, maybe even 5, which basically you end up not sleeping at all.
Right.
And then you still have to go home the next day and function like a normal person,
Does that work for you?
Well, it doesn't, but it's just it's just
the way it works.
Because
you're 1 day on and then 2 days off. So that 1 day you're back, the first day back, I would think that's the toughest because you're kind of like,
Well, so the first day off is the hardest because especially if you had a rough night like that, because you literally feel drunk without having had any alcohol. It's the only way I can explain it. Like you feel foggy, you're super tired, but you can't even sleep sometimes. So you can't even nap. So you're just again, trying to go to the gym and spend time with your family and do all the things that you're supposed to do, and you're just exhausted. Plenty of times, it's like 7 o'clock and I'm already like falling asleep, and I try not to because otherwise I'll be, let's say I go to sleep at 7, I'll be up at 3 in the morning and bright awake, which...
Are you a part of these? So I know like a lot of firefighters, they have these big giant breakfasts and dinners. Do you guys have that at your firehouse?
Sometimes brunch.
Brunch.
Sunday. Yeah, you got to do Sunday brunch.
Okay.
But no, for the most part, like my station, I'm actually really lucky. Most of us bring our own food, which like there is a camaraderie of cooking together and all that stuff, which is great. We do it sometimes, but it's better for me not to because that way I can stay focused on eating the way I need to eat.
Focused.
Focused.
Focus?
Yes. Yeah, because I eat 5 times a day.
What do you eat? What's on your diet plan? Because you talked about conditioning and all this stuff, so I want to know. Because you're very lean. Look at you right now. The veins are popping. You're hard looking. Yeah. It's the lights.
That's all I need. Good lighting. I eat, depending on what I'm focused on, between 3,000 and 4,000 calories a day. But yes, I try to eat a lot lean. Chicken and rice is my go-to. Vegetables. I do get cereal on a couple.
Cereal.
Yeah.
Like what?
Just rename it, whichever one you like.
Raisin Bran kind of guy?
No. No. I go Lucky Charms.
You just go for the marshmallows?
Yeah. No, I eat the whole thing.
Oh.
The chocolate frosted with mini wheats. Those are
Mini
my favorites,
wheats.
but those are hard to find.
Chocolate mini wheats. I didn't know they even made that.
Oh, they do. Find them. They're amazing.
I'll find them and I'm going to take a picture like, look what I got.
No, find them and then send them to me.
No, I'm going to keep them for myself.
They're delicious.
Okay, so cereal and eating clean chicken and rice?
Yeah, chicken and
That's the
rice.
secret.
Well, I don't know if it's a secret, but that's what I do.
So you eat cereal before you train, before you go and do the competition, right? That's the secret.
No, that day I just had a normal breakfast.
What's
Yeah.
normal breakfast?
I mean,
Eggs, bacon.
oatmeal. Yeah.
Doesn't matter. You just
No, at home I usually eat 2 eggs and egg whites, and then a cup of oatmeals. That's my breakfast.
okay.
And then
That's pretty clean.
the second meal is typically ground beef and sweet potatoes, and then basically the rest of the meals are chicken and
I
rice and
love sweet
vegetables.
potatoes.
I
Those
know
are my favorite.
it's an easy go to.
Yes. Well, I always thought like before you do like these strong competitions, you got to eat a lot of carbs and things like that. It's not true.
No, basically it's just whatever works for you. Like that day, honestly, I had been at the convention center the whole day, so I got to eat like what I eat here. Like I think I bought some pork and rice.
Pork.
Yeah.
I like shredded pork.
Yep, that's what it was, and I mean, so I didn't have the huge carb load before going into, but I mean, it's fine.
Are you training now in preparation for next year already, or I mean, has it full?
No,
blown?
that's a long way from now. Like I'm working on I want a big deadlift. I'm working on a heavy PR for deadlifts.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
What's the number you're trying to get?
I really want to get to 700.
You'll do it.
I hope so. Yes.
Do you have a goal like when you want to get it done by, or?
The goal was for April, but I don't think we're gonna make it. So it's gonna be early May, hopefully. That's the
Okay.
plan.
I'm gonna give you 750. I think you'll make.
Ooh, that's a big jump.
You got it.
Let's get to 7 first, then
I
750.
believe in you.
Okay.
You're Daniel Camacho. Darn it! You're the world's strongest
That's right.
firefighter.
That's right.
So I'm looking forward to seeing you next year. Is there anybody you want to give kudos to? Anything you want to say to? Well, I'll ask you this: anybody who wants to become a firefighter, any words of encouragement for them, or a strong man?
Well, if you're trying to become a firefighter, like I mean, obviously you have to have a good lifting understanding. Like I mean, it's gonna help you be a better firefighter. Just you don't have to be the strongest guy out there. You don't have to be the fastest, but you have to have some sort of athletic abilities. Like you have to be in decent shape. We are trying to represent the community, right? So you don't want to be trying to get higher weighing, 300 plus pounds and soft,
Right.
300 plus pounds, So yeah, if you want to do strongman, like again, you don't have to be like the strongest guy or the biggest guy. You can start whatever place you're at. I would recommend them finding a gym that has strongman equipment and try to get hands-on that kind of equipment. There's a great facility here in town. It's called Liberty Performance. They have all the equipment that you will need if you want to be into strongman. And there's a lot of people there that will be willing to help you, because that's how most of us learn in strongman. It's not about like, you can look it up online. You're like, you have to have a little bit of help. Like, hey, this is how you clean a log, or this is how you do a dumbbell or axle, and yeah, so that's what I would say.
And like I said, is there anybody you want to say kudos to or give a thanks or sponsors?
Definitely the guys on my station 3, Phoenix Fire, like they've been super supportive. Like they all understand what I've been working on, and they've always been super supportive on my training and giving me the time or the space, or like maybe sometimes I don't help clean or I don't help cook because I'm training, and so huge thanks to them. My training guys, Jerry Pritchett, Brian Clark, Murph, Baba. I don't know if you know Baba Pritchett. All of these guys have always been behind me, and they've always pushed me to like, hey, don't give up on your dreams. They keep going, My daughter Sophia, she was at the Arnold's with me, and she was probably the girl screaming. She lost her voice there very soon. And yeah, it's basically, there's probably a lot of people. My coach, Terry, he's always been there too, like programming. I mean, he's literally the mastermind behind, these, so there's a lot of people that I can thank, but just basically anybody that's been there for me. And the gym that I mentioned, there was a couple of people there, Eve and Nate, they were there supporting me. Friend of mine, her name is Macy, she flew from Georgia in just to watch the competition, so I have a big support group behind me.
A lot of
helps.
people love you, and again, thank you so much for your service and what you do. It is a real pleasure and honor
Thank you.
having you here, and thank you for making the time, especially out of your busy schedule.
Thank you so much. I
So
appreciate
thank you very much,
it. Absolutely.
All right, Fit Rockstar signing off. The world's strongest firefighter, Daniel Camacho. Till next time.